genius, villain, visionary, or something far more cosmic? Today, we're diving into Elon Musk's birth chart. And trust me, the ending will blow your mind. And I'd like to begin with the ascendant, with the sun, and with the moon. So we have an ascendant and a sun, both in Cancer. And what Cancer is somebody who likes to take care of themselves and others, especially. It's a water sign, so it's a very emotional sign. Then we have a moon here in Earth. It's a very practical moon. That's Virgo. It's a moon that likes structure. It refers to the mother as well as the emotions. So a moon in Virgo might say that the mother was a little bit strict and they wanted to have somebody who was close to perfect, close to perfection. And so the sun here also represents the father or the self. So if we're talking about the father, and we see it in the 12th house, see how it is here in the 12th house, that would be a father that might be absent or might not really be there for the child. It's a father that the child can't see. And even as a whole sign, it's behind the ascendant. We see the ascendant here and we see this behind it. So even as a whole sign, that would be behind the ascendant, but maybe not quite as much. Now, the emotions right here, going back to that moon, the emotions could be practical, could be it's in the second house, the house of material material things. So what this moon could say is that he needs to have he needs his finances to be in check in order to have that emotional support. So for him, like not doing well in his finances could be detrimental to his emotions or to his emotional well-being. So then right here we have I'm gonna get into the decans right now. So a decan is every 10 degrees of a sign is one decan. So from the 0 to the 10th degree of Cancer, that would be the first decan. From the 10th to the 20th, that would be the second decan. And from the 20th to the 30th, that would be the third decan. So every sign has three decans, right? Three. And so the sun is in the first decan, which is a very, very sweet decan. This is the tarot card for that decan. And this has to do, it's actually the Lord of Love. It's a very sweet and tender decan, especially for the sun, for the cell. That's very sweet. It shows a very tender person inside. Um, then the second decan is the ascendant and Mercury right here. This somebody said, "Oh, the little devil," this one with the little horns. That's Mercury. So these are in the second decan. I want to talk a little bit about the ascendants. The ascendant is I've a lot of astrologers say that the ascendant is the way that the person portrays itself. It's actually the moment of birth too, but the ascendant is an energy that the person needs to incorporate in order to feel, um, to avoid a lot of problems. People who don't incorporate their ascendant have a lot of problems. Okay. I've met people with a Gemini ascendant and they are very serious and just not talkative. And I was like, I don't like this person. Get me out of here. So people might run away from that person or might not be able to do businesses the way that they would like to do because they haven't incorporated that talkative personality, that witty personality that they need to. And so a lot of people don't feel like they're ascendant because of that reason, because they haven't incorporated it and they're still running into problems for that same reason. So, anyway, now having said that, Elon has the ascendant in Cancer. Cancer is the second decan of Cancer is the Three of Cups in Tarot, and it's I this one is really a tricky one. So it looks very happy. It looks like happy people enjoying themselves, but really what it is about building a utopia. Okay, building their own utopia, keeping people out, and the people who belong in. Okay, so that's what it talks about. It talks about having having a community, having a home, having a shell, a hard shell, so they don't get hurt. Okay, so developing their inner strength, so they don't get hurt from whatever's happening on the outside. So, and it also has to do with caring about themselves and caring about others. And and that is also Mercury. So for the moon, we have this is the tarot card. This is the first decan of Virgo. And what it talks about, and actually, this is a really great decan, as we can see even in the illustration. This is a great decan for business people, for writers, and it talks about being very diligent about work, looking at every single detail about their work and trying to improve upon it. So that itself is Virgo. What that deacon says that's different. I mean, we have Mercury, which is the merchant, and then we have Sun, which is the self. So we have the merchant and the self. And what it talks about is about learning and humbling yourself to be able to start over from the beginning, from the get-go. Learn and become better and start many different projects. So that's what this deacon talks about. So we can see that that is so for him. He is diligent. He is hard. He's a hard worker. The moon, Virgo also has to do with routines, and we see that he's got quite a few things here in Virgo. He's got Pluto right here in Virgo. Pluto was a past lesson, not so much something new. It's not. This is not a new lesson. So what was the lesson? The lesson was in Virgo, very detail oriented on optimizing, trying to make things better and better and better and better. And so that's what Virgo, Pluto and Virgo talks about. And it's an old lesson from another life that he got stuck on. Okay. And now we see him with the moon also in Virgo and the lot of fortune also in Virgo. The lot of fortune has to do with a little, everybody has a little gift. And that's usually where the lot of fortune, you don't have to do much. You just, it's just a little gift. And his little gift is in Virgo and it's in the second house. The second house that has to do with financial success. Okay. So now we know that he has a lot of Virgo and that has to do with a lot of routines. According to um, the news, Elon Musk is very organized and relies on strict routines. So to manage his time, he has a very, very hard schedule. So he's very tidy. His desk is perfect. His organization is functional, efficient, and built for productivity, not comfort. And that is exactly the moon in Virgo. The moon in Virgo, somebody with a moon in Virgo probably has their house very very tidy, or the mess kind of stresses them out. So for him, the way that he structures his days, his routine, so he has like very, very strict routines, and that's kind of like the moon in Virgo as well. Strict routines, or just definitely uh, routines throughout your day. So for him, he schedules his days with 5-minute blocks. Um, it's a method called time boxing. Okay. So this level of precision will let him maximize productivity and judge multiple companies such as Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, XAI, etc., like all the companies that he has. Even meals, emails, and bathroom breaks are sometimes scheduled if he's under pressure. So his work first lifestyle. So he works between 80 to 100 hours per week. And he divides his time between companies by days of the week. So he works between 80 and 100 hours a week. And he divides his time between companies by days of the week. So, for example, Monday, Tuesdays, he'll be at Tesla. Wednesday, Thursday, he'll be at SpaceX. And other times split among the other companies, the smaller companies. So he's known for cutting the meetings super short and remove every single distraction, short and sweet and to the point. So for him, rest, but not indulgence. So, despite his intense work ethic, he says that he needs about 6 hours of sleep. I need 8 to function well. He used to pull all-nighters regularly, but now he tries to avoid sleep deprivation due to its toll on his body. So he's quick and efficient eating. He often skips breakfast, or he has something very light. Lunch typically is short, focused, and function. It's based on function, not pleasure. So he doesn't eat for pleasure. Dinner is the only meal where he might relax a bit if time allows. And he exercise. He doesn't really like to exercise. He goes to the treadmill a couple of times, but he admittedly he doesn't like working out. Discipline over ritual. Elon isn't big on rituals or habits for comfort or creativity. If a routine doesn't serve a clear purpose, he is likely to cut it out. So he's uh, very focused, very practical. And just like his moon is practical, focused, and to the point, and always tries to get better. So so we know that he uses 5 minute blocks and he sleeps 6 hours. His meals are fast, short, functional, and his hobbies are rare, limited. And his mindset is hyper focused. So it's all that Virgo that he has here. So he has prospered because of those routines, because he has done so well, and because he's so diligent and such a hard worker. We see that this aspect, um, Saturn up here, Saturn is the one that some people say that Saturn limits, but Saturn also organizes. It's great with organization. This is the planet of big corporations. Let's just say that. So, in right here, we see that there is an affinity that goes well with that hyper disciplined person that we have here, that we have Pluto, right? And then it's also it is also flowing this energy of imagination, of creativity, and it's flowing into that Virgo. Now we see the moon, and that Cancer part is flowing there. So all that helps him feel secure and helps him be the person that he is. So then if we look at this Cancer, so he has a lot of Cancer here. So let's look at it. So he's got the sun in Cancer. Is one, is that Mars, um, and we'll talk about that Mars. He has had trouble acknowledging that Mars and standing up for himself, that he feels different, he thinks different. Uranus in the third house, that's flashes of creativity, flashes of imagination, and a different mind, a very ahead of its time mind. And so that also doesn't help him, the caring self that he is. So that also squares his ascendant. So that's also an energy that just clashes, that his mind thinking outside the box with himself, that's just something that crashes. And something else, and we're going to be talking about the Chiron in a little bit, something else that clashes against the ascendant, the caring person that he is. And it's also exact. Look how it's exact this is. Chiron is at 13 degrees, and so is the ascendant. So we'll be talking about this. Chiron is the wounded healer. So the wounded healer has to do with what pain he has had in his life, what trauma he is overcoming. He's like the biggest trauma, the biggest pain that he has. But it's also the one that he can help others heal. Okay. And but that clashes with his ascendant. We'll be talking a little bit about that. His north node is, I usually take it as the eighth house, because because it's too close. When it's that close, I take it as the eighth house. So the North Node is in the eighth house, the house of transformations, and it's in Aquarius, the sign of technology, the sign of um, humanity. And so is Mars right here. Mars is in that house of transformations, humanity. So that's where he's going, technology. And so I can see how he works in technology and how he's so driven into technology. Okay. And then his south node, which is down here, it's in the house of, I'm going to take it as the second house. The second house has to do with financial well-being. And this is a life lesson that he already had. Okay. This is a life lesson that he already lived. And it's in Leo and it's in the second house, financial well-being, having to do with Leo, having to do with himself and him being it, him being the hero of his own story. So that's an energy that he's already lived before in previous lives. And same thing with Pluto is a lesson in previous lives. In this life, the lesson is working, um, transforming technology, transforming himself too, transforming that pain. Chiron right here, usually I have found that if you look at that degree, that's the age when you felt it, when you lived it in your life. And it works most of the time. It doesn't work all the time, or perhaps we don't remember, or I don't know. When we have a Chiron in the ninth house in Aries, it's a wound about going out and not being well received. Okay, so it's a wound about acting quickly, perhaps, and going out into somewhere where you were maybe not accepted. And so I looked into Elon's life. When Elon was 13 years old, which was around 1984, several important things happened. So that matches that exact age. So one was severe bullying. Elon was the target of extreme bullying in South Africa, where he lived. Around the age 13, he was beaten so badly by a group of boys that he was hospitalized. He was pushed down the stairs and beaten until he lost consciousness. He needed to have surgery on his nose due to the injuries. He later said that they got my best friend to lure me out of hiding so they could beat me up. So this is a friend, well, this is not a friend that got him out so they could beat him up. Anyway, so his traumatic experience shaped Elon's loner mentality, made him distrustful of others, and contributed to his intense inner drive. So what did he do? He immersed himself in science fiction. At this age, he found refuge in reading, computers, and science fiction. He was obsessed with works like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which taught him the power of asking questions, the idea that anything is possible if you understand the laws of the universe. He read the entire Encyclopedia Britannica by his age, and you had to have some money to have an Encyclopedia Britannica. So his imagination and logic were already being shaped in radical ways. So he had a passion for technology. So by this time, Elon was deep into computers. He was already taught himself how to program. Um, he at that age too, he was living with his father, Elon Musk, after his parents' divorce, and Elon was spoken publicly about his father being emotionally abusive and manipulative, and then he later cut ties with his father entirely, calling him a terrible human being. So at 13, he isolated himself emotionally. He was socially alienated. He was already a self-taught coder though, and a deep thinker. And he found the strength and clarity through books and logic and imagination. And however, he was traumatized by that whole bullying that he went through. Shaped his life the way that he comes out. It shaped his life as far as his imagination, and it shaped his life like his quirky self. He probably was afraid of letting it out. I want to look a little bit about the events of his life and how the secondary progressions show us the big changes. Okay. And I'm just going to be looking at maybe one planet. I'm not going to be looking at so many because then this would be a very long video. But let's look at one planet. Okay. So we're going to be looking at Mercury right here. And we see that this is his chart in the center. And then outside are the secondary progressions. Okay. So this is the day that he was born on June 28th, 1971. And we see everything is the same. So Mercury at 14, Mercury at 14. Okay, so we're going to be moving until Mercury either touches something or gets out of the sign. So we see it leaving Cancer, and right here it just moved into Leo. Okay, this was 7, 8, 9 years. So he was 9 years old when that happened. Well, his world was kind of changing. He had the first exposure to computers. So around this time, Elon started showing interest in computers and technology, and he would soon receive his first computer at age 10 and teach himself how to program. I mean, who teaches himself how to program? He learned basic programming in just 3 days. Even though the manual said that it would take 6 months, he did it super quick. 10, let's see when it touches something. 10, 11, and it gets out of Leo right there. This happened when Elon was 29 years old, which also coincides with other trances that he was going through. And so this is what he did. So when Elon was 29, which was in the year about 2000, his life was at a major turning point. So he started X.com and the birth of PayPal. Elon had co-founder with X.com in 1999. And then at 29 in March of the year 2000, X.com merged with Confinity, which was called, but later on became PayPal. And Elon became the CEO of the merged company. He also married Justine Musk in January of 2000. He had his wealth started to come in. So Elon had already made millions from the sale of his first company, Zip2. But at 29, he was already financially independent. He was investing very aggressively in his own ideas. He was preparing to risk it all again, just like his ascendant, right? Or like his moon, starting over and risking it on his own job, on his own work. So he also at age 29 had the first seed for SpaceX. And that it which wouldn't be founded until later, but that's when he started thinking and researching about that idea. He was working a lot. He had a relentless work schedule and work ethic. He was very demanding. He had a very highly demanding leadership style. And anyway, so he had instincts of challenging authority, just like a lot of 29-year-olds. They have that that Saturn return, which makes them a little bit more challenging of their environment. So in business, so at 29 in business, he had X.com, which merged to become PayPal. And then he married Justine Wilson. He had millions of dollars. He was worth a lot of money already. And then he began seriously thinking about space travel, SpaceX. So let's look to see when that Mercury gets out of Virgo. So right now it's in Virgo and it's going over that moon. Let's see what happens when it goes over that moon. Right there, it's going over that natal moon. So this was when he was around 38, 39. And so when that happened, it was the year 2009, and he was going through one of the most intense make it or break it years of his life. It was time for personal crisis, financial strain, and the near collapse of his companies. Yet, it is also a sets the stage for this legendary comeback. And it's very normal that when we are dealing with the moon, this is something, an issue that's very emotional. And for him, his companies are mean a lot for him. So he went through a financial crisis. He was on the brink of bankruptcy. In 2008, with the financial crash, he was devastated. It had devastated all the markets, including him. So in early 2009, Tesla was nearly out of money. SpaceX had failed three launches, and now we have some more this year. And he was barely holding on after the fourth, finally succeeding late in 2008. So Elon had personally loaned tens of millions to keep Tesla afloat, and it was almost broke. So he was living off personal loans and dividing rent money between Tesla and SpaceX. He later said that he said, I could either split the money between the companies or let one die. So he said that he split and he hoped. Tesla gets a lifeline. In 2009, Tesla received 465 million loan from the US Department of Energy, a critical turning point for him. The money kept Tesla alive and allowed them to continue developing the Model S, the first mass market car, which I think we should get a discount for that. Yes, it was our taxes, right? We should get a discount. So without this loan, Tesla would have folded. Now SpaceX begins to turn a corner. After finally succeeding late in 2008 with Falcon 1, SpaceX was building credibility. Now, something else that happened around that time, very much a moon issue, is that he got divorced and he had a custody battle. So Elon, in the years at the end of the year 2008, he had a very difficult divorce, and they had five sons together. So they had to split the time, the legal fights, the custody, the finances, and all the media stuff. So he wasn't doing so well at that time either. There was a lot of mental pressure at its peak. He describes this period as excruciating, sleeping on factory floors, working 100 plus hours a week, and constantly under stress. Friends of Elon say that he was emotionally and physically exhausted, but too stubborn to give up. So we know that. So anyway, so what happened in 2009? Tesla was nearly near collapse. SpaceX was also had lost a lot of launches and was near collapse. Personally, he was broke. He was in debt and going through a painful divorce and custody issues. Mental state, he had like extreme pressure and he was working nonstop and he was very close to a burnout. So that's what happened when Mercury aligned with the natal moon. So now let's see what happened when it goes to this lot of fortune. Oh, it went retrograde. Let me see. When does it go retrograde? Oh, right here. So this was 2 years later. 2 years later, it went stationary 2 years later. So let's see what happened 2 years later. Mercury, when stage turned stationary, his life was in full throttle mode. He was no longer the struggling entrepreneur that he was in 2008 and 2009. So by 43, he had become a household name with Tesla, SpaceX, Solar City, gaining serious momentum. However, 2014 was also filled with bold decisions and media attention and a lot of pressure as well. So Tesla opens up its patents. So in June 2014, Elon made a radical and unprecedented move. So Tesla opened all its electric vehicles patents to the public. So his goal was to accelerate the growth of EV industry, even if it meant giving away a competitive edge. So Musk said that Tesla will not initiate patent lawsuit against anyone who, in good faith, wants to use our technology. So it was a major based decision placing mission over profit, which has to do very much with his ascendant, right? We talked about the ascendant having to do with um, caring for others in taking care of others as well. And this shows somebody who's taking care of others. In 2014, Elon announced plans for the first gigafactory, a massive battery production facility in Nevada. So this is what he's doing. He's doing a lot of business stuff. SpaceX, big contracts and political moves. So SpaceX was gaining altitude, both literally and financially. So in 2014, SpaceX won $2.6 billion, a NASA contract to develop space taxi. Hmm. So the company also pushed for regulatory reform of the aerospace industry, making waves in Washington. So Elon was positioning SpaceX not just as a launch company, but as a future leader in human spaceflight. He was also on the covers of Forbes, Time, Fortune. So media began portraying him as a visionary but intense figure. So he an admired genius, criticized for work demands. So hits on Neuralink and AI concerns. So in 2014, Elon began publicly warning about the dangers of artificial intelligence. He described AI as summoning the demon and expressed concerns about unregulated development. So this masked the early seeds of Neuralink and XAI, which would later which come later. So anyway, so what did he do in 2014 when that Mercury aligned, when stationary? So Tesla, he started giving away its patents. He won NASA contracts. He built political influence. He became the top solar city provider. And his reputation started advancing very rapidly. And so we see right here, we see Mercury right here, and it's actually also aspecting um, his ascendant by sextile. So we have one, two, yeah. He's aspecting his ascendant by sextile. And so what that means is that the energy is flowing easily. And how's that energy flowing easily? That ascendant that has to take care of others, actually, has to take care of others in order to incorporate that energy and um not run into trouble. Okay. So when he is giving away to the people, we see that he is doing well. It goes back into Leo when he is 63. So I wonder what major things will happen when he is 63. One of the things that I've also noticed is this North Node and this Mars that he has here. I think that in a couple of years, based on this, he's probably going to change the whole idea that we have about technology. There's going to be a huge change having to do with technology in about, yeah, I think in about by 2026, probably, he's going to be making a big change in technology. I don't know exactly what he's going to do. I believe it might have something to do. Well, he likes space, so could very much be about space, about exploring, because he's got the North Node and Mars in the eighth house. The eighth house has to do with pushing the limits and exploring what is hidden. So he wants to explore space and he wants to explore where we haven't been before. So that's very much an eighth house thing. So, well, I hope you liked this program. If you liked it, please subscribe and be ready for the next one.